let's take a look at what we're going to be seeing here. A couple of different things that are super dope. Okay. You're going to have a couple of really cool setups here. One in particular for Atlanta is how they kind of play through these two sides of the map just with their ARs watching. It doesn't matter what hardpoint is open. It doesn't matter which hardpoint rather is open. They still like to lock down these lanes with the ARs. So let's just say, for instance, that we're sitting here and we'll say we're on P2. Okay, P2 is currently active. One of the things that you're going to see a lot of is Celium will be in a position to where, as any AR would be, he's either playing in the back or, depending on the pressure forward, he'll be sitting in this area. One of the two. The whole idea is Celium will be on this part of the map, making sure that this lane stays contested in some form, or he can read information. Okay. RC is a couple of different times. What he'll do, let me turn this music down just a touch. He will go on the opposite side of the map and do a couple of different things. The first would be if he finds himself spawning up. Let's draw back Celium. He'll be in this position. Let's say he spawns up. His first point of contact is make sure nobody's pushing my SMGs mid-map. If that's clear and Simp and Abizi can find a way to get through this space, our cities will then go long and he will be watching to make sure nobody's coming through this space. And the whole idea is to lock down both of those lanes and then just let the Tiny Terrors do whatever the hell they want as they're pushing through these two areas. And also likely, depending on the situation, they'll find themselves just on the hill is what it'll kind of look like. All right. Opposite side of the map, one of the things that you'll notice is the same idea. You'll get one AR, typically Celium, that'll be playing over towards this area to make sure nobody's coming through this backside water wheel. And then you'll have RCDs sitting either somewhere in this department or somewhere in this department. And his whole idea is to try to reduce as much of the outside of the map as humanly possible. Force LAT to have to hit in towards these inner spaces and trust that you're going to get good participation out of your SMGs to just be scrappy in these positions. Really, really cool stuff as far as how that setup works. It's really this, simply put, the whole play is literally just to make sure you are always blocking off the outside of the map in some capacity, whether it's holding from this side for P2, P4, or holding from this side, P5. I don't say P3 because one of the things that you're going to notice in this map is there is a moment where LA is actually going to have the favorite spawns. They'll be spawning in the back, and they will also have good control around these interior spaces, kind of guarding this part of the map. So they're kind of trying to run a little bit of a forward push to block off as many of the doorways as possible from Atlanta. What Atlanta will do when they find themselves spawning in this part of the map, somewhere in this area, this depends where, is Celium will actually pick up, or RCs will pick up a third, if not a fourth SMG, just because they know they've got clearance in here, and then they can try to overwhelm, avoid the ARs completely, and try to get hardpoint control by just flooding and overwhelming with sheer force of numbers. There's one part in particular where you'll notice in the kill feed that Celium is going to have a third SMG, or RCs, one of the two. And the whole play is to essentially just ignore all of this and just play forward in here. Don't even worry about what's happening in the back, because they're trying to set up eventually after that cool, you've got to come to us, right? So that's kind of the idea in mind, is they're not going to even bother to play for all of that. So it's a really, really cool setup, and we'll try to kind of break that down, and we may go to that scene a couple of times to kind of show you what the intention of that appears to me, at least in the first place. I'm not at all, by the way, just for disclaimer, I'm not at all saying that this is 100% what they're doing, but you know, that's kind of what it feels like. Watching through it, it kind of feels like what they're trying to do right now. So with that in mind, let's jump on into it. Bocage, Atlanta FaZe, LA Thieves. Why is it that Atlanta runs 2 ARs on this map? And more importantly, why was it so darn successful? Let's find out.
They had on Bocage, it was a spectacle.
We'll see if they can repeat the spectacle for us today.
Let's get this in full screen, shall we?
Number 4.
So you're looking at number 1 and number 2. That's Celium in our cities. And one of the things you need to really pay attention to is watch how they are really, honestly speaking, they are never hardly close together. They're always playing opposite sides of the map. So the whole idea is to try to get clearance as much as possible and force a flood to come through. We'll do Atlanta in this lovely shade of pink, and we'll do ATL in blue. Force them through those choke points where the SMGs can really wake up.
And so far, all of those avenues covered by Atlanta FaZe, their early time.
I mean, look at that. Look at this setup, dude. Look how far forward they are. Like, this is unbelievable. And it's really funny because we've been hearing this statistic all weekend long about how Atlanta has been, like, finding no value at all on P1 time. Like, off the break, P1 time has been pretty much 0 for Atlanta. They're going to get like 35 seconds worth of time here. And a lot of it is just, I mean, look at this. Just watch the kill feed. Watch how often Arcities and Celium find themselves in. And there's no pressure from LA through the middle of the map really whatsoever.
I mean, there has been so many P1s of Bocage where neither team is able to get 20 seconds like combined for the lobby.
So even off the respawn, watch how quickly this moment is actually, like, watch this moment happen right here. Celium's going to spawn up backside stables. Arcities is already in the back trying to get over to make sure they can keep contesting this space. So that way there is no push through for LA Thieves on the backside. Keep forcing them through these tight areas where you have to know the tiny terrorists are going to do something incredible. And as soon as he starts to see Celium spawn up, watch Arcities go back. They do not play the same angle whatsoever. It's literally like Alec is allergic to Cell. See that play? It's so small, but watch. Alec is saying, oh, they're selling him. Never mind. I don't want to see you. Brilliant.
2 kills for him. His teammates have rotated.
And even behind, again, what we were talking about, just to kind of reframe it again, you want to try to deny all of this outer area if you're Atlanta. That's how you make 2 ARs actually work on this map. Get that outer area as much as humanly possible. Because even in the worst case scenario, where Alec gets kind of surprised and he gets killed, where is he going to spawn? He'll still spawn in the back. He just needs to know that you'll come through and make sure that that back stays safe. And you'll probably also see Celium be in the same position to where they can contest, again, 2 lanes with those ARs. But it's a really heads up setup. So Alec falls. Watch where he spawns at this moment. You got one teammate to spawn in. The second teammate will still spawn in. And as soon as Alec falls, the quick reaction is to make sure the back stays safe. Do not let anybody else come through this direction and just play defensive through the front. You don't have a lot of help here, so Simp is going to just play a corner, make sure that barn stays in their control, and Celium's just going to watch this cross, knowing that this is currently where LA is, and this is where LA is going. There is nobody likely coming this direction. It's a super heads-up play, just a small awareness change.
In there, you're going to see Envoy now try to hit the flank, but who's all over it? It's a BZ. You know this player's tendencies. You don't check the...
All the damage has been mitigated. All the damage is done now.
BZ's going to get it. The trade's going to be there immediately, but still the damage is done, and the alarm bells have been rung. You know which way the LAPs are coming from.
Look how fast that is. Even you've got a position of number 4 inside barn. As soon as Octane gets that kill, he knows he's the last one up. Make this little route. Your teammates are going to be spawning behind you. And we just keep this neutral. That is literally like worst case scenario. So it's a really heads up play, and it works out super efficiently, even though the kills are pretty darn even. So now we're re-clearing the middle of the map. We want to try to get our spawns in the back left. It's all about just making sure the lanes stay locked. So there's 3 dead. Get across. And now again, watch how fast Alec is starting to move, just to make sure he's not watching the same thing as Cell. He knows Cell is on point this entire time. So as soon as you help him out, you create a little bit of space, take your focus somewhere else.
MP40 setup in FaZe, they have to be the only ones that go 2 and 2 like this, because I think Celium has kept it out fairly secure for the final
and honestly, Chance knocks this out of the park, dude. Chance's color commentary over the course of this map is literally phenomenal. It is so damn good. If he doesn't win Colorcaster of the Year this year in the Esports Awards, something's dramatically wrong. It's literally the way he includes it from a casting standpoint. Giving that to the perception of the audience is brilliant.
He gets caught. FaZe have done their homework. They're prepared for this.
So now P2's done, and look at the score.
We're 2 hills in, and again,
This is where I believe you're going to start seeing either Cell or R-Cities, one of the two, pull out a third sub. Because now you're on a break. You don't necessarily need to have all these ARs because you're looking just to funnel them and keep them inside and then just break forward. So this is one of those moments we need to look at for Atlanta, saying, are we actually using 3 SMGs to try to break? Because the entire play is largely through this direction. Get on in from the front and let's keep it as scrappy as humanly possible. And actually, as I look at it, Celium did spawn up with an MP40, and he's right here. So that is 100% the call. Let's get an extra sub in, because the other reason is there's nothing for us to do. Like, we just perfectly locked down this kind of a setup around P2. Why would we take an AR to watch this cross when this AR is also that's 2 ARs watching the same thing? You don't need that. So you've got a position to where now R-Cities is making the wrap around the back. He's going to play spawn trap for a little bit while all 3 subs can then overwhelm whoever's left over on the hill. Even trades are still fine.
Mid, they're going to be trying to find something. Abizi, through the front door we go, and here comes the break. Atlanta FaZe are finding the kills, and Thieves, they may win a couple of fights on point. The spawns are still close enough, so you've got to try to deal with these players as and when they fly.
So the break, technically speaking, is successful. We're 30 seconds or so, 20. Oh, what the? Oh no! What just happened? I broke it. Oh no! Hold on. Internet. Please.
There, Envoy with a pickup.
There you go.
Hold now from Granny's third hard point in the rotation.
So we'll watch through that a little bit again. What is this historical thing? You guys see that? Is that popping up on your side? What is that? Oh, it's gone. Okay.
Octane down low, drives are upstairs, spawns through mid. They're going to be trying to find.
So there's that same play over again. R-Cities are on the back. Celium's helping in the front. It's a 4-man feed. There's the 5th. So now you've technically broken the entire setup in the first 25 seconds. Not even. It's really the first 20 seconds. That's a success story for P3. From the front, that's a success story. Even these trades is a success story through and through for Atlanta. So we're still got it. We still have 3 subs out right now for Atlanta. AR is just being held by R-Cities. Celium, I believe, still has an SMG. Yep. Sure does. It's really, really cool. So now we look towards rotation, right? You're in a position to, we've job done. Celium just died. Keep your eye back again on number 2 and number 1. R-Cities is already in a position to do what? Lock down this lane. So our expectation would be as soon as Cell spawns, which, by the way, since there was never a full flip, you kind of saw, if you remember back a couple of seconds ago, when R-Cities was in this position, trying to play for this doorway and hold these crosses, how there were little pinches that came around the back. That's Atlanta trying to get spawn control. If they can flip out LA, that gives them the opportunity to actually soak up some time. But after a certain point, you don't want that anymore. You want LA to be stuck in this position trying to fight through the hill, your SMGs, and then open lanes to get over to P4. You can turn the barn into a huge money hill by keeping the team spawning behind. We see this a lot with Seattle as well, where it comes to spawn manipulation. Getting into a timing to where we no longer want the favored spawns, flip them around, make them fight through multiple obstacles to see the next hill. Even if it means we don't get spawns, we don't get full time, that's fine. That's still technically a W from P3. So now you're going to get that same situation. Just to re-hit it, R-Cities already out in this angle, trying to watch all of this. Our expectation would be, since we don't expect that ATL will spawn in the back, they should spawn in this position, and we should expect to see Celium do one of 2 things. Get over towards the wall, cross here, or get a little bit further and see if we can get in a position to watch this backside lane in some form. That's got to be the intention. Try to take away as many open spaces, as much open space as humanly possible.
I know we're only 3 hills deep, but they're looking different.
So,
very good indeed.
Cell spawns. Cell moves out here. That is so clear cut that that's what they're trying to do. It's actually mind-boggling how simple it seems in theory. Because literally the whole strategy is take away the long lines of sight. Get there first and just battle. That's it. Because even from a position, let's just say that either of these two players fall, that gives you information of where this next hit is going to come from. And when it comes to reading off of information, players like Abeezy and Simp are going to be able to react to that. We saw it on the first set of hills when we got to P2, where, oh, we're getting hit around this backside. If they're hitting through this direction, that means they're not hitting through this direction or this direction. So if they're going to hit around the back and through mid, that means we need to get into positions to just watch this and watch these side doors. We don't have to worry about what's over here anymore. It's so simple in theory, but it works out so damn well. And I think it's just trying to create an understanding of the chaos that is normally Bocage by Atlanta. So here's the read. Celium, the fact that Cell gets one there is already good enough. It's more than good enough. Watch how the defense will now start to move. No longer is Arcides watching this. He's going to try to get into a position probably to hop and watch this back cross. Or just watch through the doors. That's fine too. But now you know the defense has just shifted for what looked like this. Now the defense looks like this. You've completely cornered out the space that LA has to hit from. So you know exactly where they're coming from. And from here, you shouldn't be able to win your trades because you're expecting this play. Trades are fine. Atlanta FaZe once again win out, and who is it? It's Abeezy, and it is Simp. It's a good play from Kenny. But look how much faster Atlanta gets to the hard point with numbers than LA does. Good kills from LA. And it makes it sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, but the fact of the matter is, like, that's just a good play from LA. They win their gunfights, they take Atlanta off of their preferred setups. But the setup itself, you can see what Atlanta is trying to do, and it's grown this lead to a pretty incredible spot. And if you really listen in this moment, just try to pick out Celium's and Arcides' calls. You'll hear Arcides say, "I'm looking mid." He goes through sneaky, whatever, and then he's like, "I got 10." Like he's calling exactly what he's watching, and you'll notice that Celium never really watches the same thing while we're on board with Cell. This is actually a really clear-cut reason of how we know this is actually what's happening. You hear that right there? I'm looking 10. Like, and that's on this rotation where Alex, like, I'm watching mid. And then as soon as the calls come through and the kill feed comes out, he bails and says, I'm watching 10. So now again, our ARs are still sectioning off this hill. Really cool listening. Brilliant. And even off this break off, you can kind of see that they're trying to do the same thing again, but just with different players, right? The whole idea is deny, let me do this in the right colors, deny this space, deny this space. So you've got number 2 in Arcides, he comes off spawn, he's watching this. Simp, who had spawned earlier, is already watching through, and you're already clearing this space. It's essentially just trying to make sure that at any given moment in time, this part of the map is the focus. Let LA live in here. We don't care what happens on the inside of the map. Let them live in there. The Tiny Terrors will do their job. But if we can control the outside space and take away the potential to even get pinches off, LA becomes so one-dimensional. So the take comes through. Hear this call again. So you can even hear it right there. Like, Atlanta's even starting to make the call that, Alec, you can push up. So they're trying to get him into a position to start flipping the map around again. We're only 20 seconds into this hard point, and they're already trying to get pressure through.
They've got a lot of control, and I mean, I'm just trying to piece together like the absolute pandemonium that is this map, and what the best way.
It's unbelievable. It's really, really good. I mean, honestly, so there is a break, and again, you have to give credit where credit is due. LA is doing everything they could be doing.
You need to pick something up, and you got a guy like Simp, like, no, it's fine. I already got that.
But even in this moment right here, it's just what they're watching. You've got Celium trying to watch through mid gate, and then you've got RCDs trying to watch through gate house. Like, they're still watching these crosses to make sure that the plays on point are essentially isolated, right? Like, they're trying to create a bit of a blanket around where the play actually needs to be happening. So a lot of the time when we see teams play on other maps, we'll see kind of like, for instance, on like Gavudu, we'll see teams try to like cut a team in half, right? Where like, if you were to imagine it, and we can actually maybe pull this up real quick. Let's say it's a map like Gavudu, where you're looking to, we see this pretty regularly. Let's just say that you're in a situation where it's like a fight for P3, right? P3 down in this area. Let's say that LAT is making a hit from like across the map and they get somebody into sight, but they're not technically spawning up. What you'll typically see teams do is try to cut that space off and essentially create a divider to where you've essentially just completely put a wall between the both parts of LA. And eventually you'll be in a spot to win this battle, right? That's kind of the intention. But what we're starting to see happen is on Bocage, not Berlin, we don't want that. On Bocage, what we're getting is that same breakdown that we were just talking about, where you've got a situation in hand where you're always putting on pressure on the outside of the map and you're forcing LA to have to play in this space. You always get the beat on what exactly is happening. You can always play around these kind of corners to keep them in spot. So even in this moment where you've got a bit of a 50-50 battle, the initial setup for this last hard point was, oh, this is the wrong colors. Watch this cross, and you're trying to create a bit of a safety blanket around the SMGs that can flood through, right? That's kind of the whole idea. And then in the late stages, what we're starting to see is let's try to clear out more space here and more space here, and then our subs can get off point and make the rotation back around. That's 100%, at least in my mind, what I'm starting to see that they're trying to do. So it's a really, really cool setup as far as what we're getting at the moment.
When you know that your team, Ken, is on point, when multiple guys are thinking ahead of
So now they're a bit trapped, and again, credit to LA. Hey, they pushed back. They didn't let Atlanta do what they wanted to do. But watch the focus still coming out. They're still trying to find ways around the outside. It's not just trying to full-on funnel. Even in this moment right here, which doesn't look particularly great, you've got Arcides who's watching this long cross, trying to keep this backside play safe, and then you've got Cell in a position to try to watch this gate. So even still from these positions, you're denying space here, you're denying space here. This is like what I would call like a recovery moment for the side of Atlanta. They're just trying to recover their normal map positioning and get around to be in the next part of the map where you want to be spawning right here. You want to be back here. So again, copy paste setup. You expect to see these two go their separate ways. Maybe they're going to help out in this position first, just to make sure that you've got priority number one, which is keeping this open for your subs and trying to give at least one lane open towards the rest of your team to spawn. But you have to feel like eventually there's going to be one player to go this way, one player to go this way. Just get to that same setup where our ARs are watching these two lanes.
And they're holding it for a while. That final kill there from Sim's going to stop.
So even in this moment, you kind of already have that going on.
Cell from upstairs now. Eyes on. Kill feed looking good for the LA Thieves. And again, they're still trying to play for that top side of the map as well. So accumulate as much time as possible. All good. Cell's going to spoil that for now.
And the thing too that you'll really notice to kind of also I think re-hits this is the ARs will not jump into point unless the fight is dissolving to where they can afford to be the one to jump in, right? Like we're in a situation where it's 4 dead. And Cell was in that minute the one that got over towards Hill. But as soon as we get to a position to where we no longer need that, watch how fast Cell moves to the outside and RCD moves to the outside. I'll just keep the minimap up.
Once again, it's another clean
bang. It is unbelievable. And that's how this is made successful. And here's the thing about it. I think some people are probably going to watch this and say, well, why doesn't everybody just do that? I'm going to go do that in my college COD scrims. There's a lot of trust that comes into Simp and Beezy winning gunfights. And the same rate individual ARs being able to keep their life in tricky situations where they're being overwhelmed by a hit, to at least find one and kill time off of how fast that rotation can come through. It takes a super special dichotomy to make that happen. You can't just do this and say, oh, it worked for Atlanta, it's going to work for me. This is where you go back and you say Atlanta could possibly still be the best team in the game, just because they can individually in their roles make plays and make setups like this happen. I don't know how many other teams could pull something like this off. It'd be interesting, because I think you're going to start to see teams try to do this, and it's going to put a lot of stress on Atlanta trying to keep this as their lockdown. Maybe Ultra could, maybe Ultra could. Maybe Seattle could. Listen to Chance. Listen to Chance. He's brilliant. Listen to Chance in this breakdown.
And just so quick on again, it's all that for now. But again, they keep that top side of the map covered. They get that rotation, and man, once again, it's another clean 4 down as FaZe. This is all their time.
And just so quick on the rotation, RCD's already in it. You can just see Envoy like sprinting into it because he's used to the timings being a little bit different. It's got to be tricky to play against a 2AR setup on Bocage. If they're the only team that does it, like, how can you be prepared for how much differently it plays? And they have such a ridiculous setup. Selim is pushed out all the way towards this like top tank. He's shooting all these players for Thieves and calling them out as they push into barn, but FaZe isn't giving up those back left spawns. They have so much pressure on the map that, I mean, they've almost found a way to organize the chaos and slow the game down and buy these guys in this P2 hill so much time, though. A couple big gunfights for Thieves to get the players out, and Draza on the flank. The break might be in, but only for a moment.
Chance's fucking brilliant, dude. That is literally, I am pausing the video to talk about all this. He's doing it in real time, dude. Chance is unbelievably good at taking huge mega gigabrain plays and simplifying it down to 15 to 25 seconds with the talking time. Dude, I never want to hear anybody say a bad word about Chance ever in their life. It's actually fucking brilliant. He's so smart about it. And it's not just the fact that he can talk through it, it's the fact of how he can make it concise enough to fit it all in like 30 seconds without missing a single point. Unreal.
Good for Atlanta FaZe. Have they somehow managed
so now we get through our next rotation. We kind of already broke it down. Same idea. And you can see exactly what they're doing right as soon as Arcity spawns. Cell was watching this. Arcity falls. Cell moves forward. This is priority number 1. They know that this hit is starting to amount to something through the open side of the field, through like that swampy area. But watch when Arcity spawns. He is going to immediately go back down this way. He doesn't want to see Celium in this map.
Lightning here on Bocage. Cell with a close push as the clock starts to tick away. And LA Thieves are still stunned, unable to really make a dent on that scoreline. Here comes the push.
And they both find kills. So this is the moment where I talk about, and I mentioned this on Twitter, when the fight dissolves, that's when the ARs have the ability to go play for Hill. So Simp and Abizi are both currently down. So you'll notice that as Arcities wins a 1v1 to keep Barnes safe, you still have a bit of a crossfire set up here. And this is when it's okay for the ARs to see each other and get into the hard point to start soaking up some time. 3 dead. Arcity's the last one left. He can play in this corner and just soak up time. And even with that, if you really want to be nitpicky, watch what happens when Simp spawns, number 4 in red. I'm just going to mention it. There's still 20 seconds worth of time on this hard point. But going back to our initial point, at a certain time, you no longer want to be over here. You want to be over here. And even better, force your opponents to spawn over here. So Simp is going to come off this spawn and immediately start going this direction to put pressure on the new hard point. Because there's no reason for him to be here. There's not even a reason for him to be in here. Get to a position that continues to allow you to have map pressure. So watch his route, number 4.
There's a little bit of help from Octane at distance, but not enough to really get on the point, and it's Arcity soaking up that time. Thinking about rotation. You know,
we can see this last gunfight from his perspective. He gets the first, and then he's expecting the second challenge to be inside. It's not there, But the thing about it is he's going to get information on both players that are already here. And then with 15 seconds left, the rest of Atlanta will start to realize, well, if they're fighting Simp in mid, we can then take the long rotation around and hit from this side and just try to use this space of the map to contest new. They're trying to just build a 50-50 to eventually flip.
Thinking about rotations as well, 15 seconds out. There's no way.
There goes a BZ. One for one. All right.
And look, Miles, I'm just gonna slow this down and just think long.
Listen to Chance again.
On a map like Bocage, like it has almost been a meme from the pro players about how crazy aggressive it is and how flood heavy. And again, how many different teams are running a 4 SMG setup? Well, here you have Atlanta FaZe. The first time they played it, they took down Seattle in dominant fashion. Again, Seattle has been playing incredible so far. Right now, they got a 100-point lead, dominant once again, and they're doing it in a different way. I don't know if they're trendsetters or if they're the only kind of team that can pull this off, but when everyone's been complaining about a map like Bocage, FaZe apparently, or maybe have figured it out. I think it'll just be fun to see exactly how this plays as the year goes on.
So that's the one thing that if you were to be like really nitpicky, the one thing that is missed in all this conversation is what's happening for this P3 break. And it's the fact that you're going to get Celium, who will spawn with a sub for P3 on this break. And all of it is just, it's simply down to the fact that when you've got clearance with one AR in this position, you don't need a second. Like, let's just say, like we go back to it, Arcides is in a position to be, yeah, he just jumps into the hard point here. Let's say he starts here and he's AR watching this angle. You also do not need Celium with an AR watching this angle. The curious thing, and the thing I don't think that we fully see here, is when Atlanta spawns in on P3, do they still run 2 ARs? Do they throw an AR way out here and right down here? Or do they not worry about this route? Keep your AR mostly centralized around this spot, that way the AR can do one of two things. Either help out to make sure that the subs themselves can continue to flood in and deal with pressure that could be coming just from the front doors, or keeping the side route safe. Or does he get into a position to watch this long cross in case there's a play around the back? Or if there is a spawn flip situation, can he be in a spot to watch that? I don't think you need to have 2 ARs for this setup, no matter what side you spawn on if you're Atlanta. So I would be willing to say that as soon as P3 is about to open, the next life up, Celium will come in with an extra sub. And you just try to stack 3 subs in and around this mid-building area. And then you have your AR in this position, either watching to help the front if you're holding and spawning in, or he's watching the back on this cross if you happen to be spawning out and you know that your enemy is spawning in. I just don't think that they're ever going to feel the need to put an AR in this position to watch that, because I don't think it's necessary. Because honestly speaking, the AR from where Arcides currently is, he can't necessarily see if the play is coming front door or if the play is coming side door. And neither could this player. So I think you probably run 3 SMGs on this hill just to try to keep that as tidy as possible. But we don't really fully see it.
Once again, all Atlanta FaZe. 200 points now crossed. This is it. Match point for Atlanta. 50 more seconds is theirs, and they walk away with the win today. Final contest now towards the bottom side of Grandma's as the looking across the
10 seconds. What does Celium spawn up with here? Does he still have an SMG? Hard to say. Nice spawn trap from LA Thieves to keep them in this game, by the way. It's not bad. But like, Octane's got a sub trying to watch this.
Oh, no, not anymore. Number 4's out. There you go. That's going to make things a little bit difficult as he spawned from behind. Simp's going to now cause some real...
Actually, does Arcides spawn up with a sub right there, or does he pick that up?
This is all right. Better work. Keep him back.
No, he's got an AR. He's got an AR. He just picks up a sub right here.
Oh, no, not anymore. Number 4's out. There you go. That's going to make things a little bit difficult as he spawned from behind. Simp's going to now...
And Cell...
problems for the LA Thieves.
He may also have a sub in this instance, but I imagine now that they're starting to spawn up, I imagine Cell spawns with an AR in his hands as the flip has already happened. So even though the spawn trap is good for LAT to kind of spawn trap for a while, they don't fully hold it with that little play around through, actually it's through here. That is enough to allow this hard point to flip.
Thieves go and watch that back, right? They actually had Octane like pushed out towards River, trying to get the cutoffs, nice map spread, and then
Keep an eye on those two. Where are they going?
Simp just spawns in the back. I'm not saying it is easy to figure this map out at all.
Cell is an AR.
But again,
So it's just it's super cognitive
extra. Clearly something, you know, a bunch
that
of
this is definitely the effort.
and this might honestly turn into an auto veto against FaZe. At least
It really is. It's truly unbelievable.
But right now, this is more of just a victory lap time, unless Thieves can string something serious together.
I mean, serious is
Even like again, even right here, Varsity spawns up, goes the opposite direction of Cell. It's just, yeah, it's really, really, really awesome. It's really cool. And Chance knocked this out of the park, man. He knocked this entire call out of the park.
Yeah, thanks. I'll have it over by the site. Yeah, on Draza. Yeah, that'll do it. We'll take care of him. Howdy doody. Takes care of us these as well.
Now it's just victory lap, like Miles said. Leader's advantage gives them the ability to do whatever the heck they want right here.
Well, this is a money hill that I was going to say maybe you could lock down for a bit of time, but already the swarm is in from FaZe. Maybe Cellian just a little bit too twisted just in general to be a standout player on this map. Shots like that from Arcities. I mean, just genuinely, it seems like one bulleting people on this map. And even on a money hill like River, FaZe find a way to bully themselves, get inside.
There it is. And even right now, if you really want to be nitpicky from the front, while they're trying to hold, you got 16 seconds left. No need to play for spawns. One AR watching one way, one AR watching the other. Win the game, Forehead.
You're looking to end this game here.
What a display.
To 136 is going to be that final score. Atlanta FaZe.
Super dope. Isn't that freaking cool?
For all those that doubted them, myself included, you can never count Atlanta FaZe out. The more time they're going to get in game, the better they will become. And you can see across the player cams, they're feeling fine right now. 3-1 victory for FaZe. And
I think Chance tries to break this down again.
Bocage wasn't great. The Tuscan was a 3-0. Search and Destroy was, you know, pretty decent. But when it comes to that first game, though, I mean,
that is really just super solid stuff. So I really challenge everybody to really, really listen in to any time that Chance has breakdowns like that. Really listen in, because he's usually knocking it out of the park. It's unbelievable.